All right, let's get real. Ever notice how some people just love to test your boundaries? They interrupt you, make passive-aggressive comments, or act like your time and feelings are optional, and we're just supposed to smile and let it slide. Not today. If you're done putting up with people who don't respect you, this video is for you. I'm going to show you 5 easy ways to handle people who don't respect you without losing your cool or feeling bad about yourself. These tips will help you stand your ground and let others know that you won't accept disrespect. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to make sure people treat you with the respect you deserve. Ready to stop letting others walk all over you? Let's get into it. 1. Embrace the silent stare. All right, let's start with one of my all-time favorite slightly savage techniques, the silent stare. Now you might be thinking, really just staring? Yes, trust me on this, when someone's being openly rude or disrespectful, nothing throws them off more than a long, calm, completely unbothered stare. Here's why it works. Now, let's talk about why this technique is so powerful. You see, when someone is being rude or disrespectful, they often want to control the situation. They want to push your buttons, get you riled up, and make you react emotionally. And when you do react, whether it's getting angry, defending yourself, or even laughing it off, they get exactly what they want. But when you don't give them that reaction, when you just stare at them calmly, the power balance shifts. You're not playing their game, you're not reacting emotionally, and that makes them uncomfortable. It's like you've taken the power back, and that's a huge deal. People are often caught off guard by your silence. They don't know how to respond to someone who isn't giving them the emotional reaction they were hoping for, and most of the time, that's enough to make them stop their disrespectful behavior. Let me tell you about a time I used this technique. I was in a meeting with a group of people, and there was this one guy who kept interrupting me every time I tried to speak. It wasn't just once, it was every time. He would talk over me, and I couldn't get a word in edgewise. At first, I tried to speak louder, tried to get his attention, and even politely asked him to let me finish. But nothing worked. He just kept bulldozing over me, and I could feel my frustration rising. Then, I decided to try something different. The next time he interrupted me, I didn't say anything. I simply looked at him. I didn't yell. I didn't get angry. I just gave him a calm, steady stare. For a solid 5 seconds, I didn't blink, didn't say a word, didn't change my expression. I just stared at him. At first he kept talking, not even noticing. But then he started to falter. His words became less confident, and he began looking around the room. And you know what happened? He stopped interrupting me. In fact, he started listening when I spoke, and he even waited for me to finish my sentences. That silent stare didn't just stop him in that moment. It shifted the whole dynamic. He respected me more after that, simply because I didn't let him walk all over me, and I didn't even have to say a word. The power of the silent stare comes from how unsettling it is. When someone is being disrespectful, they expect you to fight back, argue, or even walk away. But when you do nothing, when you don't give them the reaction they want, they start to question themselves. Your calmness shows them that their behavior isn't going to get a rise out of you. It's almost like you're putting up a barrier that says, "I won't let your behavior affect me." And that barrier is powerful. It stops the cycle of disrespect because it shows the other person that you value your peace and that you're not going to let them disrupt it. When you stare at someone without reacting, you're not being passive, you're being assertive. You're telling them that you don't have to argue or fight to be respected. You're already showing respect for yourself by not engaging in the drama. Some people might think that responding to disrespect with silence is weak or passive. But here's the thing, arguing with someone who doesn't respect you only gives them more power. It's easy for someone who's being rude to twist your words, make you feel small, or manipulate the conversation. But when you don't engage in the argument, they lose that power. When you choose silence over arguing, you're also protecting your emotional energy. You're not letting their negativity drag you into a fight. Instead, you're choosing peace, and that is a much stronger response than anything you could say. It's important to understand that using the silent stare is just as much for you as it is for the person you're dealing with. When you hold someone's gaze and refuse to be rattled, you're not just showing them you don't accept disrespect. You're also showing yourself that you're in control. Learning to stay calm and composed in the face of disrespect can build your own confidence. The more you practice it, the stronger you feel in your own self-worth. You stop second-guessing yourself or feeling like you need to explain your feelings. The silent stare becomes a reminder that you don't need anyone's approval to know your worth. If you want to get better at using the silent stare, here are a few tips. Stay calm. The key to making the silent stare work is to stay calm and collected. Don't show frustration, anger, or confusion. Just breathe and hold your gaze. Don't overdo it. The stare doesn't need to be intense or long. A few seconds is enough to send a message. Keep your body relaxed. Don't tense up or show any signs of discomfort. The goal is to stay completely unbothered. Be consistent. If someone continues to be disrespectful after your silent stare, don't give in. Keep your cool and continue to show them that you won't engage in their drama. The silent stare is a simple yet incredibly effective way to deal with disrespect. It's about taking back control without saying a word. By staying calm and composed, you send a message that you don't tolerate disrespect and that you respect yourself too much to engage in petty arguments. It's a tool you can use in any situation, from casual conversations to serious confrontations. And the best part? It doesn't require any shouting or confrontation. Sometimes silence says it all. So the next time someone disrespects you, try the silent stare. You'll be surprised at how powerful it can be. It's a quiet, strong way to show that you're not someone to be disrespected, and you don't need to say a word to make that clear. 2. Embrace silence as your answer. Here's a little secret weapon that's incredibly underrated: silence when someone disrespects you. One of the most powerful responses is no response at all. Sometimes, when you're faced with disrespect or negativity, the best response isn't a clever comeback or an emotional defense. The best answer can simply be silence. It might sound strange, right? In a world that encourages us to speak up, defend ourselves, and fight for our voices to be heard, how could silence be the right choice? But the truth is, silence can be one of the most powerful responses, especially when you're dealing with people who don't respect you. It's not about being passive or letting others walk all over you. It's about choosing to remain calm, unshaken, and in control. Let me explain why silence can be the answer you've been searching for. I'll start by sharing a story. A few years ago, I was having a conversation with a friend. Let's call her Sarah. Now, Sarah was someone I had known for a while, and I considered her a close friend. But over time, I started noticing that she would make comments that felt disrespectful, joking about things that made me uncomfortable, talking over me when I was speaking, and undermining my opinions without ever truly listening. At first, I brushed it off. I thought, it's just her sense of humor, or maybe I'm being too sensitive. But after a while, I couldn't ignore it anymore. It was clear that Sarah wasn't respecting me, and I started feeling hurt by the way she treated me. One day we were talking, and she made another one of those comments that stung. This time, something inside me snapped. I felt the anger rising, and I was ready to tell her how I felt. I was about to say something sharp, maybe even cutting, but then something stopped me. Instead of firing back with words, I took a deep breath and said nothing. I didn't react. I didn't respond. I just stayed silent. It wasn't easy. My mind was racing, thinking of all the things I could say to defend myself, to call her out on her behavior. But in that moment, I decided to embrace silence. And you know what? It worked. The silence was so powerful that it made Sarah uncomfortable. She could tell something was wrong, but she didn't know how to handle it. She paused, looked at me for a second, and then tried to brush it off like nothing happened. But the message had been sent. My silence spoke louder than any words I could have used. In that moment, I realized something important. Silence is not weakness. It's not about avoiding conflict or letting someone walk all over you. It's a conscious choice to stay calm, to not engage in drama, and to not allow someone's disrespect to control how you feel. Now let me explain why silence is such a powerful response. When someone disrespects you, they are often looking for a reaction. They want you to get angry, defensive, or upset. They might want to see you stumble over your words, or maybe they want to provoke you into an argument. But when you choose silence, you take that power away from them. You don't give them what they expect, and that makes them uncomfortable. Silence can be a way to reclaim control over a situation. When you don't respond to someone's disrespect, you are showing them that their behavior doesn't affect you. You are not going to engage in their negativity. In a sense, you're telling them, your words or actions don't have power over me. And here's the thing, when you embrace silence, you also protect yourself. When you respond with anger or frustration, you let someone else's behavior dictate how you feel. But when you stay silent, you are taking a step back. You are not letting their negativity invade your peace of mind. You are choosing not to let their disrespect affect your emotions. In a way, silence is also a way of setting a boundary. When you don't engage with someone who is being rude or disrespectful, you are quietly showing them where your limits are. You don't have to say, "I don't like that," or "Don't treat me that way." Your silence does the talking for you. It says, "I won't tolerate this behavior," without you having to say a word. I've found that the more I embrace silence as my answer, the more I realize that I don't need to prove myself to anyone. I don't need to justify my feelings or defend my actions. Silence is often the most confident and powerful response because it says, "I know my worth and I don't need to explain myself to anyone." Let me share another example. A few months ago, I was in a conversation with a colleague at work. Let's call him Mark. Mark was a bit of a know-it-all. Whenever someone shared an idea or opinion, he would immediately shut it down or try to prove that his way was better. One day, he interrupted me during a meeting, and I could feel my irritation building. I wanted to speak up, to tell him he was being rude and dismissive. But instead of engaging with him, I stayed silent. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him and let the silence linger. At first, Mark didn't know what to do. He looked at me, expecting me to say something, but I didn't. After a moment, he looked around at the others in the meeting and quickly backed off. He didn't continue interrupting me. The silence had done its job. It was a quiet but effective way of showing him that his behavior was unacceptable. I didn't need to argue or raise my voice. I just let the silence speak for me. When you embrace silence, you can also take a step back and collect your thoughts. In those moments when someone disrespects you, your first instinct might be to react quickly. But if you take a moment of silence, you give yourself the space to think. You don't get swept up in the heat of the moment. You stay grounded, and that gives you control over how you respond. There's also something incredibly freeing about embracing silence. When you stop feeling the need to explain yourself or defend your actions, you release the pressure to constantly justify who you are. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Silence lets you hold your ground without getting caught up in the noise of other people's opinions. Now, I know it's not always easy. Silence can be uncomfortable, especially if you're used to responding or speaking up. But the more you practice, the more you'll realize that silence isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. It's a way to protect your peace, show respect for yourself, and set boundaries without saying a word. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where someone disrespects you, whether it's a colleague, a friend, or even a stranger, remember that silence is often the most powerful response. You don't have to argue, you don't have to defend yourself. Just stay silent, let your calmness fill the space, and watch how the situation shifts. Embracing silence as your answer is not about avoiding confrontation. It's about choosing how to respond in a way that maintains your peace and shows others that you won't tolerate disrespect. Silence can be loud, and it can be a sign of your strength. Sometimes, doing nothing is the most powerful thing you can do. 3. Stop explaining your choices. Have you ever found yourself constantly explaining your choices, justifying your decisions, or trying to make others understand why you did something? Maybe it's because someone questioned you, maybe because you felt guilty, or maybe you just didn't want anyone to think you were wrong. But here's the thing, you don't need to explain yourself to anyone, especially when it comes to your personal choices. Let me tell you a little story. A while ago, I made a decision that was important to me, but I found myself explaining it over and over again. I had decided to take a career risk and switch jobs, something that felt right for me at the time. I knew it was a big move, and I was excited about it. But when I told people, friends, family, and even some colleagues, they all had questions. Why would you leave that job? Are you sure this new role is right for you? What if it doesn't work out? At first, I tried to explain. I gave them all the reasons why I was making the change. I talked about the opportunities, the growth, and how excited I was to take on a new challenge. But the more I explained, the more I started to feel like I had to justify my decision to everyone. It started to drain me, and I realized something. I didn't need to explain myself. I made this decision for myself, and I didn't owe anyone an explanation for it. It's easy to fall into the trap of explaining your choices to others. It feels like you have to justify your actions or prove that you're making the right decision. But here's the truth. You don't need to explain yourself, especially when you've made a choice that feels right for you. Your choices are yours, and you don't owe anyone an explanation just to make them feel comfortable or validated. Let's break it down a little further. When you explain your choices to others, what are you really doing? In most cases, you're trying to get approval or acceptance. You want people to understand why you made a certain decision, so you try to rationalize it and provide them with all the reasons behind it. But what if the person you're explaining it to doesn't agree with you, or worse, doesn't understand your reasons at all? Now, you're left feeling even more drained, and your choice doesn't feel as confident anymore. You start questioning yourself. Did I make the right choice? Maybe I should have explained it better. But here's the thing, not everyone will understand your choices, and that's okay. People have their own values, priorities, and experiences, and they might not see things the way you do. It's natural to want approval from others, but at some point you have to realize that your life, your decisions, and your choices are yours alone. You don't need anyone else's approval to move forward in life. Think about it. How many times have you explained yourself to someone and still felt like they didn't get it? Maybe they even judged you or made you feel bad for your decision. When you give explanations to others, you're opening yourself up to judgment. And honestly, the more you explain, the more room you give them to criticize your choices. They might not agree, and they might make you feel like your decision wasn't valid, but you don't have to explain yourself to them. Not everyone is going to understand what's best for you, because only you know that. Your choices reflect your values, your needs, and what feels right in your life. And that's enough. Take a moment to think about all the decisions you've made in the past that have been right for you, whether it was in your career, your relationships, or even your personal life. Were you constantly explaining yourself to everyone, or did you just know what was best for you? If you're constantly explaining your choices, you might be looking for validation, but that validation should come from within. When you stand firm in your decisions and don't feel the need to explain them to others, it shows self-confidence. It shows that you trust yourself and that you don't need anyone else to approve of your life choices. There's also something liberating about not having to explain yourself all the time. Think about how much energy you spend trying to justify your decisions to others. Instead of using that energy to explain yourself, you could be focusing on what matters most to you. You could be moving forward, working on your goals, and making more decisions that are aligned with your values. People will always have opinions. They might question your decisions, judge you, or try to change your mind. But at the end of the day, it's your life. You're the one who has to live with the consequences of your choices, so you're the one who gets to make them. When you stop explaining your choices to others, you stop giving away your power. You stop letting other people's opinions control how you feel about your decisions. Let's look at another example. Imagine you've decided to take a break from social media. Maybe it's because you want to focus on yourself, your work, or your mental health. But when you tell people, they might ask, "Why are you quitting social media? What's wrong? Don't you want to stay connected?" It's easy to feel like you need to explain why you're taking this step. You might find yourself listing reasons like, "I need a break from the noise," or "It's affecting my mental health." But honestly, you don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need to justify your decision to anyone. If social media isn't serving you, then taking a break is the right choice for you. By not explaining your decision, you're sending a message that your mental health and well-being are more important than trying to please others. You don't need to explain why you're doing what's best for you. The more you practice not explaining your choices, the more confident you become in your decisions. You start to realize that you don't need other people's permission or approval to live your life the way you want to. So, what's the takeaway here? The next time you make a decision that feels right for you, whether it's big or small, remember this: you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. Your choices are valid because they are yours. Don't waste your energy trying to get others to understand or approve. Instead, focus on trusting yourself, moving forward, and living your life on your terms. Stop explaining your choices. Stand firm in them. Trust that you know what's best for you, and don't let anyone make you feel like you need to justify your decisions, because at the end of the day, your life is yours to live, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for how you choose to live it. 4. Keep your distance. We've all been there, surrounded by people who don't respect us, don't value our time, or simply don't bring out the best in us. It could be a co-worker who constantly undermines your ideas, a friend who always takes more than they give, or even a family member who drains your energy with their negativity. And while we often feel obligated to keep these relationships going, sometimes the best thing we can do is keep our distance. But here's the thing: keeping your distance isn't about being rude, cold, or cutting people off without reason. It's about recognizing when someone's presence is no longer serving you, when their behavior starts affecting your peace, and when the relationship is simply draining you rather than building you up. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I had a friend, let's call her Emma, who, at first, seemed like a great person to hang out with. We had similar interests, and I thought we could be really good friends. But over time, I started noticing that whenever we spent time together, I felt emotionally exhausted. Every conversation turned into her complaining about everything: her job, her relationships, her family. And no matter how much I listened, it was never enough. She didn't seem to be interested in anything I had to say or any of my experiences. It was always about her. At first, I didn't say anything. I tried to be a supportive friend, listened to her problems, and gave her advice. But the more I gave, the more I felt drained. I started to feel like I was doing all the emotional heavy lifting in the friendship, while she wasn't offering anything back. It started affecting my mood and my energy. I realized that I was giving more than I was getting, and that wasn't fair to me. So, after much thought, I made a decision. I needed to keep my distance. I didn't want to end the friendship completely, but I needed to protect myself. I stopped reaching out as much and didn't engage in every conversation. I set boundaries on how much time and energy I could give. At first, Emma didn't understand. She'd ask why I wasn't responding as much or why I seemed distant. But instead of explaining myself or feeling guilty, I just kept my distance. And you know what? It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. By keeping my distance, I was able to preserve my own peace and energy. I realized that sometimes stepping away from a relationship is necessary for your own well-being. Let's dive deeper into why keeping your distance can be a powerful tool for maintaining your emotional health. When you're constantly surrounded by negative energy, it can start to affect you. The people around you have an influence on your thoughts, feelings, and behavior, whether you realize it or not. If you're around someone who's always complaining, gossiping, or putting you down, it can start to wear you down. It's like their negativity becomes contagious, and before you know it, you're feeling stressed, anxious, or drained, just like they are. Keeping your distance doesn't mean you're abandoning someone in need. It simply means you're setting a healthy boundary. It's recognizing that their energy is no longer helping you grow, and it's okay to step back in order to protect yourself. Think about it. You wouldn't continue to drink from a cup that was filled with dirty water, would you? You'd avoid it because it's not beneficial to you. The same principle applies to relationships. If someone's energy is toxic, their behavior is draining, or they constantly disrespect your boundaries, it's okay to step away. It's not selfish, it's self-care. Another reason to keep your distance is to avoid unnecessary drama. Have you ever been caught in a situation where someone's problems or issues dragged you into a whirlwind of drama? Maybe they'd involve you in their conflicts or try to manipulate you into taking sides. This is another sign that it's time to set some boundaries and keep your distance. Drama is exhausting, it's time-consuming, emotionally draining, and usually leads to more problems. When you keep your distance from people who thrive on drama, you save yourself from being pulled into situations that are not your responsibility. You can keep your peace intact and focus on the things that truly matter to you. It's also important to note that keeping your distance doesn't always mean you have to completely cut someone out of your life. You don't have to block them on social media or stop speaking to them entirely. It just means creating space. It's okay to not pick up the phone every time they call, or to politely decline an invitation if you feel it's not good for you. You can still be kind, but you don't have to give your time and energy away to people who don't deserve it. Let's say you've been hanging out with a friend who always puts you down, constantly mocks you, or makes you feel small. You've tried to talk to them about it, but nothing changes. It's clear that they don't respect you. At this point, keeping your distance might be the healthiest option. You can stop spending time with them without causing a scene or making a big deal out of it. You simply choose to step back and protect your own well-being. By keeping your distance, you're not allowing their negativity to dictate your mood. You're not letting their behavior control how you feel. You're taking control of your own emotional state, and that's empowering. Sometimes people don't even realize that they're draining your energy or crossing your boundaries. They might not understand how their behavior is affecting you, but that's not your problem. Your responsibility is to protect your own peace. If that means creating space, so be it. You don't have to apologize for that. In fact, keeping your distance can also help you gain perspective. When you step away from a toxic relationship or a situation that's draining you, you give yourself the space to reflect on how you feel and what you truly want. It's in these quiet moments of distance that you can realize what you need in a healthy relationship and what you're willing to accept. Sometimes, keeping your distance isn't about what the other person did. It's about realizing that you deserve better. You deserve relationships that uplift you, people who respect you, and situations that bring you peace, not stress and negativity. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, drained, or disrespected by someone, remember that it's okay to take a step back. Keeping your distance isn't about being mean or shutting people out. It's about protecting your own energy, setting boundaries, and choosing to surround yourself with positive influences. When you give yourself the permission to keep your distance, you're not only protecting your peace, you're also creating space for better relationships, new opportunities, and a life that aligns with your values. 5. Hold your head high. Life is full of challenges, obstacles, and moments that can make you feel small, insignificant, or even defeated. Whether it's a difficult conversation, a tough situation at work, or a personal setback, there are times when life tests your strength. During these moments, it's easy to let your head drop, feel down, or allow self-doubt to creep in. But one of the most powerful things you can do in those tough times is to hold your head high. Holding your head high is more than just a physical action. It's a symbol of confidence, resilience, and self-respect. It's about standing tall in the face of adversity, even when you feel like everything is working against you. It's a way of telling the world that no matter what happens, you're not going to let it break you. It's a reminder to yourself and to others that you are strong, capable, and deserving of respect. Let me share a story to help explain what it really means to hold your head high. A few years ago, I faced a situation that shook me to my core. I was at a job where I felt undervalued and unappreciated. Despite working hard, my contributions often went unnoticed, and I found myself stuck in a toxic environment where people were constantly criticizing my work, undermining my efforts, and making me feel like I didn't belong. It was a tough period. Every day I felt like I was walking on eggshells, hoping not to make a mistake because I was afraid of getting criticized. I started doubting myself and my abilities. I questioned whether I was good enough or if I was cut out for the job. I felt like I was failing and my confidence was slipping. But then one day I decided I had had enough. Instead of allowing myself to shrink, I made a conscious decision to hold my head high. Even though I was facing criticism and feeling like I wasn't getting the recognition I deserved, I decided to stand tall, both physically and emotionally. I started to remind myself that I didn't have to let others define my worth. I wasn't going to let their negative opinions affect me. I wasn't going to let their words or actions determine how I saw myself. I held my head high, not because everything was perfect or because I was immune to feeling hurt, but because I knew I deserved more than to let those challenges break me. Holding your head high is about showing the world and yourself that you won't let anything, not even the toughest situations, shake your confidence. It's about taking control of how you view yourself, even when others may try to tear you down. When you hold your head high, you're practicing resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from difficulties, setbacks, or challenges. It's about remaining strong, no matter how hard life gets. And when you stand tall, you're not just physically showing your strength. You're mentally reminding yourself that you are capable of handling whatever comes your way. Think about a time in your life when you faced something tough. Maybe you went through a breakup, lost a job, or experienced some kind of failure. In those moments, it might feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and it's tempting to hide, shrink away, or avoid facing the situation head-on. But when you hold your head high, you're choosing to face the challenges with strength, courage, and determination. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect or never feel down. Holding your head high isn't about pretending that everything is fine when it's not. It's about acknowledging your struggles and still choosing to face them with confidence. It's about accepting that things might not always go your way, but knowing that you are strong enough to handle it. Another key part of holding your head high is self-respect. When you hold your head high, you're saying to the world, "I deserve respect, and I won't settle for less." It's about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone or anything make you feel less than you are. This is particularly important when you're dealing with people who don't respect you or treat you poorly. When you allow others to treat you badly, it can make you feel small or unimportant. But when you stand tall and hold your head high, you're reminding yourself that you are worthy of kindness, respect, and understanding. No one has the right to make you feel inferior or unworthy, and by holding your head high, you're taking a stand for yourself. The simple act of holding your head high also has a powerful effect on your mindset. When you stand tall, you send a message to your brain that you are confident, capable, and in control. It can help shift your mindset from one of doubt and fear to one of strength and determination. Try this. The next time you feel down or uncertain, take a deep breath, stand up straight, and physically lift your head. You might be surprised at how just that small change in posture can make you feel more empowered. It can shift your energy, improve your mood, and remind you that you have the strength to face whatever comes your way. When you hold your head high, it also helps you build self-confidence. Confidence isn't something that happens overnight, but every time you stand tall and face challenges head-on, you're building that inner strength. Over time, you start to trust yourself more, believe in your abilities, and develop a deeper sense of self-worth. Another benefit of holding your head high is that it can inspire others. When you stand strong in the face of adversity, others notice. They see your resilience, your confidence, and your ability to keep going, even when things are tough. And that can inspire them to do the same. You become a role model for others who may be struggling, showing them that it's possible to overcome challenges and keep moving forward with strength and dignity. So, when life gets tough, when people try to bring you down, when circumstances seem overwhelming, remember to hold your head high. It's not about ignoring your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging the challenges, standing tall, and reminding yourself that you have what it takes to overcome them. When you hold your head high, you're telling the world that you won't be broken. You're telling yourself that you are strong, capable, and worthy of respect. It's a simple but powerful act that can help you face life's challenges with resilience, confidence, and a sense of self-worth. The next time you're feeling unsure of yourself or facing something difficult, try holding your head high. Stand tall, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that you are stronger than you think. You can face whatever comes your way, and you deserve to do so with your head held high. Thanks so much for watching. If you got something out of this, give it a thumbs up, and maybe even hit subscribe for more content on owning your life and building the confidence to thrive. Share this with someone who needs a reminder to stand tall. And hey, drop a comment below. If you've got a story about handling disrespect or setting boundaries, I'd love to hear it. Until next time, take care, stay strong, and remember, respect starts with you.